Hey, um, my name's Chris. My fiance's name is Peter Hyde. We're making this video because unfortunately we're having issues with one of our neighbors. Our neighbor at 2642 and one half. His name is Oscar Carvajal. His wife's name is Jessica Ortega. Um, it, it, this is a ridiculous story, and it's going to be a little bit of a long video, but this video is being made in case something happens to me or happens to Peter. We just want to make a record because unfortunately, this guy has a history of domestic violence. This morning, he did some things that were kind of questionable and scary. Um, I don't feel safe, but making this video will at least make me feel a little bit safe. So let's get to it. Okay, so on July It was July 18th, 19th, and 20th. Peter, my fiance, I, Jessica Ortega, and Oscar Carvajal, and Brian Morales rented a house up in La Quinta, California, near Palm Springs. The purpose of the rental was basically to celebrate Oscar's birthday. We, at that point in time, were good friends, and we thought we were good friends, We also made the announcement that me and Peter were going to marry and that we would have the ceremony on September 20th. We told them it was going to be a small, intimate thing in the backyard with some family members and some friends here at our backyard at 2642 Corning Street. Um, so everything went off. We all came home. We had a fun evening. It was a fun time. Fun 3 days. We came home. Um, and I noticed that one of my packages arrived. It was these sensors that scare off the cats and wildlife with a high pitched sound. It's harmless. I mean, it just scares them. Doesn't really, doesn't kill them or anything. But um, I installed them. So 2 days later, um, me and Peter, we left for the airport. Brian Morales picked us up and took us. We left for the airport because we went to Costa Rica. We were there for a week. That was July 20th through the 29th. During that time, I asked them to basically water my plants. During that time, we got back. I noticed that my plants weren't watered, and I was like, strange. Um, we got home at around 11:30 at night, so we didn't hear anything, we didn't say anything, we didn't see anything. I had even received text messages from Jessica warning us about the tsunami and to be careful. I thought everything was, you know, good, no problems. So the next day, it was around noon, maybe 1:30 ish. I to check my phone for the details on my Ring cameras app. Uh, I was gardening in the back, feeding my plants because they were starving for water, and Oscar shows up, and he parks his car in the garage, the little silver one, and it screeches because he just stopped so fast. And all of a sudden, I hear his car door slam. Seconds later, I hear the bottom two entryway doors, the ones that we share with them, slam, bam, bam. Seconds later, I hear one more door, and it's this house door, bam. And I'm like, he's probably angry. Something happened at work. Something happened. He tends to be a very emotional guy when it comes to when he's angry or things don't go his way. Go his way. He tends to be very emotional. And he takes it out on pretty much his wife and anything around him. If it's a cup, he'll break it. So I left it at that. I wasn't gonna say anything, whatever. So 2 days passed, and then on I believe it was Friday, I get a text message from Oscar, and the text message basically stated that I was to leave his little friends alone because they're his friends, and I forgot. There's more in the text message. I'll forward that text message to uh, Brian Leonard and Priscilla. They actually have copies of that text message. Um, the message is just rambling about the cats and that we're not nice people, and that he's a good person, that he tries to get along with everybody. And in that message, he also attacks our dog Bruno. He basically says that our dog sheds so much that the hair's all over the stairs that we share with them. And in order for there to be that much hair, Bruno has to hang out pretty much constantly on those stairs. And Bruno goes out 4 times a day. Once in the morning around 5:36, another time again at noon, again at 6:30 in the afternoon, and then one more time at midnight. And he's on the stairs for a minute, maybe less than a minute to 2 minutes. I go, so there's not enough time for hair to accumulate in the wards the way he says it is. So I, instead of answering the text message, I ignored it. I just decided it's better for there to be one crazy person than two by me joining in on this thing. I was like, I'm not having it. I'm not going to be a part of it. So I ignored it. Um, our wedding was coming up, and at this point, we were just fed up because we needed the backyard. And unfortunately, now with the weather getting hot and having 10 cats, about 10 cats, the shit and the urine smell was just unbearable. The flies, we needed to do something, and we finally had enough. And so on Friday, this past Friday, which would have been August 8th, Peter waited for Oscar and talked to him. They came to an agreement about that Oscar would not feed the cats anymore, that to give him a week, he wouldn't feed the cats, and that in and also that we would basically carry Bruno upstairs. Um, in the video, I did record the video. It's kind of grainy, but it's in my phone if or in the cloud on my cameras if it's needed ever. Um, he goes on a rant, and so we basically agreed, okay, that we would carry Bruno downstairs from our apartment to the downstairs cement, so that way Bruno does not leave any hair. So the next day, me and Peter had theater tickets at the Nocturne Theater in Glendale at 8 p.m. On our way there, we were getting ready to enter the theater. Or actually, we did enter the theater, and we got an alert from our camera that somebody was in the backyard, so we logged in. And wouldn't you know it, there on the camera is Oscar feeding the cats, breaking his word. Meanwhile, us idiots are carrying the dog because we know we're going to keep our word. Didn't really pan out. So at that point, we basically said, enough is enough. If we were going to have this wedding in our backyard, we need to stop this cat situation. The cats were running amok. I mean, every time he fed them, it looked like he looks like the cat. Oscar looks like the cat whisperer because the cats out of everywhere. They just come out of everywhere, and he has like 5, 6, 8, sometimes 8 cats all around him because he feeds them so much. Um, we basically got fed up, and we reached out to our landlord around 7:45, 8 o'clock in the evening. His name is Peter Maklobos. Um, he's the landlord. Um, he said for us to basically send him a text message the next day if he did it again with pictures, and which we did. And we sent him a long text message saying, what's going on. It was that the cats were a nuisance, and we also included that they have a third car, and that third car is making it hard for us to get in and out of our own parking spaces. It works for them because they leave and they have small cars, but when you have three cars in a tight space, it's really hard. And going forward on what I'm talking about, we asked in the text message, we asked the landlord to basically call us back, or text us back with any results, or any resolution on the matters. It's now August 12th, which is now 2 days later, 2.5 days later now, I guess. Landlord has still not reached out, has not said, hey, I spoke with them. Hey, I told them this. I told them not to do this, and not to park there anymore. Nothing. We haven't heard anything, nada. So last night, after we got back from the movies, um, we said, okay, if they park the car again, we're going to make a note and we're going to put it on their mailbox so they can basically know that it's bothering us. It needs to stop. It's not convenient for us to be having their car there, because the only convenience is for them, not for us. It's just making our lives a living hell now at this point, because it used to take me 4 tries to get out of my parking spot, because I have a big SUV, and now it's taking me up to 10 moves to get this car out. And mind you, and I also have to be careful for her car because it's a tiny little thing. Uh, I shouldn't have to be going through this. They shouldn't be having to go through it either. If it was on the other hand, on the other shoe. Um, so at this point, we left a note. So this morning, uh, they must have got the letter, and we see on the video, because we could hear noise at around 5:30. Um, Jessica leaves for work, and when she leaves for work, I guess she's very angry at the situation. She literally slams the front downstairs door, and it goes, and she gets in her car and she drives off. At around 5:45, 5:50, Oscar appears in the video, and he seems anxious, angry, walking back and forth, walking around his car. You know, he made it seem like if somebody had done something to his car, he was just walking around it, impatiently. Uh, Stupid me was watching a live feed, not knowing that my cameras don't record live feed unless I hit the record button, and my cameras won't record what's going on because I'm on the live feed, so I don't have much of that video. But we literally watched Oscar on two cameras. We watched him on the driveway camera and we watched him on the back patio camera. And for almost 45 minutes, he literally did walk back and forth, walked in and out of the downstairs door. At one point, he walks back into the downstairs door and he grabbed something and he walked to the patio. So we switched to the patio. And in the patio camera, you clearly see him throw a bag. And I actually have the pictures in the video for that. It's kind of funny. A bag of cat food inside a bag. And luckily, when we saw that, we basically checked, and sure enough, there was the cats that were and you also see in the video that the cats are all following him. Uh, when we saw the bag downstairs, we saw the cats trying to rip the bag open, but it was a thick bag, so they couldn't really do a lot. So at that point, after he threw the bag of cat food, he again in the video looked angry. He was angry, and he was taking pictures of my surveillance cameras. And the funny part is that the cameras were installed on his insistence, because at the time he was separated from his wife, and we had a incident with a guy who lives next door, and it was just too much. And so he basically said, hey, let's put them in. He goes, put them in, buy them, and I'm like, okay, we'll put them in. And we did. We put them in, and well, now I know he knew that the cameras alert me every time somebody comes into view of the cameras, and so he basically purposely walked in front of the cameras, setting them off, taking pictures of the cameras with his phone. Um, which I thought was just plain dumb. But I knew that he was doing it because he knew that it was going to set off my phone. Um, and then at that point, he finished and he was just, you could tell in his face he was angry. So he basically looks around and is looking at my plants, my potted plants, and he grabs the potted plant and he throws it over the wall into the abandoned house and it breaks, right? Mind you, this potted plant was originally his, but after his wife left, he didn't want her stuff. So he goes, "You can take it. It belonged to that bitch." So I took it and I repurposed it for my plants. Well, apparently he remembered that he gave it to me and he threw it over the fence. If he's already this angry and he's already doing these things, he took it out on a plant. We haven't approached him. We stayed away from him. We're avoiding him. We're avoiding both of them. We only go out when they're not home, and we go out when they're either asleep or we feel comfortable. We shouldn't be having to do this. But at the same time, we are scared because when I was at the police station, they basically said that we needed to do this video because unfortunately, yeah, he was arrested for domestic violence. He has a pattern and it's escalating. They couldn't give me any details because they couldn't violate his confidentiality. But we're making this video because now we're scared. Um, all this stems because we told him to stop feeding the neighborhood cats. It started with one cat. This is like a couple years back. It started with one cat. That cat had two cats. Those two cats later had babies that I basically used a trap to get rid of. I did not know that he didn't like me doing that. He never said that. He always said that he would help me get rid of these cats, and that never happened. And I even bought traps and whatnot, and he would release them from the humane traps, and but he never said to me clearly that he didn't want us to mess with these cats. It wasn't until I set up those sonar devices thingy that scare them away. So all this mess is because of these cats, and because we basically said enough. We were your friends, and you took advantage of our friendship. You took advantage of our kindness. Now that we basically said enough, he's on a war path, and we don't know how far his war path is going to go. So if we're making this video, it's because we want to be safe, and um, if something does happen to us, now you know that his name is Oscar Carvajal. He lives downstairs at 2642 and 1/2 South Corning, Los Angeles, California, 90034. I will be providing Leonard, Priscilla, and Brian details of these people. Have had interactions and experiences with this man, and can testify to the validity of what I'm saying and how violent he gets, and even says nasty things to his wife in front of us, which is sad. Um, and I'm almost done with this video, but I just want to say that I do give permission to Dennis Scott and Brian Morales and Priscilla Dominguez to post this video in case something happens to us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any platforms that they can actually load it onto. So that way people can know that we didn't disappear, we didn't leave. If something happens to us, it's because of Oscar. So, um, thank you, and I hope we make it to the wedding.